I dropped every language app on my phone to build a system on Gemini that's perfectly fitted for what I actually need, which is to learn exactly the words I use in my daily life. Let me show you how. What I prefer the most in my case is to have one single chat per language. So I have one chat for English, one chat for French, one for Dutch, and so on. Open Gemini and pin a chat at the top. Use this same chat for everything. Looking up translations, fixing something you said wrong, dropping a word you didn't have at the right moment. Just every gap goes in here. This is going to be your syllabus. Don't forget to click on Tools and to choose Canvas. That's where the magic happens, because otherwise the trick doesn't work. In my case, what you can see on the screen is actually a list of words I've picked up while talking to a couple of friends in French. Here's the prompt I use. Give me interactive flashcards with text-to-speech. If we want, we can try. Italian on the front, French on the back. I mean, why that order? Because recognizing a word is always easier than having to recall it from the back of our mind. That's passive memory. While producing it yourself, so starting from your native language and finding the word in the language you're learning, in my case French, that's the hard part, and that's what actually sticks. This is the free version of Gemini. Let's see how much it takes. So this is what we get. The result is absolutely amazing. There are still some things that are worth remembering. Why? There is a tracking function sometimes that lets you mark whether you knew a card or not. As you can see, for example, in this case, I didn't get it. I mean, the quality of the results is not always the same. If we don't mention these details in the prompt, sometimes it appears automatically, sometimes you need to ask for it explicitly. You can also shuffle the deck. Here, for example, it says recommencer, which means to start again, which is not what we actually want. We want to shuffle the deck. If I try to flip the first card, I realize that the sound doesn't really work. As you can see.
Soupe au lait.
Okay, which is weird because now I'm trying it, and that's the second time that I tried. Before it didn't work, so apparently it fixed the code while I was just flipping the card. I don't know, I mean, that's plot twist. Secondly, we want to shuffle again. Let's try to make it live and let's see what happens. Let me shuffle the cards. Add a function. I don't know, I mean, I have no clue about how to say it, so let's try this way. As you can see, je vais ajouter une fonction de mélange à votre application. Donc apparently it's going to immediately make the switch. Apparently it's going to work. Let's see. Oh, voila. Okay, here it is. As you can see, there is now the button mélanger, so to mix up. And then we have here début, which means start again from the beginning. And so if I flip it, what do I get? I get soupe au lait. Let's try again to listen one more time, because I would like to see whether it improved also the quality of the text-to-speech or not. As you can see, it's very slow.
Soupe au lait.
Okay, it works, but it's honestly very slow. So I say, make the audio a little bit faster. I say natural speed, something like that. Not Parisian speed, but natural speed. Let's see what we get. And here it says, j'ai ajusté la vitesse de la voix. So I fixed the voice speed so that it can be a little bit more natural. Here, so we got the deck shuffled automatically. Again, another plot twist. And what do we get? So the first card now is another one. Let's see whether the voice is a little bit better now.
Être dirigé à la baguette.
Still better. I mean, otherwise we would have had être dirigé à la baguette. Well, now it was être dirigé à la baguette. Okay, at least à la baguette is pretty nice. So that's already a good progress. There is another thing. Add tracking system for flashcards. Learned versus to learn. Or to be learned. I don't know. I mean, I cannot speak English in this case, sorry. Whenever it's a matter of drafting a prompt, and especially doing it like that, live, let's say, it's always a bit of a mess. But let's see what we get. Because I'm always afraid of doing something a little bit too complex and then the prompt doesn't work. I don't know. So what do we have? As you can see, now we have tout, so all the flashcards, apprendre, so to learn, and appris, so learned. Here we have the shuffle, and here we have, probably it's to get a hint, something like that. So we have nel bel mezzo di, so in the middle of something. I know that it means au beau milieu de. Let's check the audio.
Au beau milieu de.
Okay, it's still okay. Au beau milieu de. But as you can see, it takes a while to load it. And then I said, okay, I know this one. I don't know why I can do it twice, but let's say marqué appris, so it's done. Okay. And not à revoir, which means to check again. And here we have, so appris 1. Apprendre 14, sorry. And then we go on like that, which is pretty cool. Let's say then supposer. Okay, this is weird because I don't know. As you can see, there are some mistakes sometimes. For example, now it says supposer suscettibilité, but the thing is, I want the Italian one, not supposer. Whatever. And I said, of course, I know it. Okay, this is correct. Per quanto si dica. On a beau dire que, blah, blah, blah. And then that's all. So we can go on like that. And here, so we get the first deck that shows us the full number, I mean, the whole amount of flashcards we had, how many flashcards we still have to learn, and the ones we've actually learned. There is actually another thing that I really love, which are quizzes. So for example, if I tell Gemini, give me a quiz with 15 questions on how to use expressions from my list in more complex sentences in Italian, I have to choose the right translation of the whole sentence in French. Don't follow the order of the list. Give me sentences useful for daily life at C1 level for someone living in Brussels. And let's see what we get. Every detail actually in this prompt is important because, for example, I ask, so don't follow the order of the list because otherwise you start predicting answers, of course, based on sequence and not based on your actual memory. And for example, I ask for C1 level because otherwise it's too easy. And then for someone living in Brussels, so I want that if it takes elements from the rest, it invents elements to complete the sentences, I want that they are related to Brussels. And so what do we get? So the first question, for example, is traduis cette situation de bureau. So translate this situation, this office situation. My boss is a real hothead. If you try to, if you do some constructive criticism, he is very, he gets pissed off quite quickly. I mean, let's say like that. I don't know exactly the perfect equivalent in English, I'm sorry. So, mon patron, okay, ça va, est une tête brûlée. I don't really think that it's a burnt head. Est deuil de patience, not really. Est très soupolé, probably. Fait la chronique de sa colère, okay. I mean, the right version is the letter B. So, mon patron est très soupolé. Si on lui fait une critique constructive, il s'énerve tout de suite. The expression soupolé describes perfectly a person that gets angry very quickly. When we get to the end of a quiz, we have a recap, with our score, the level of accuracy of our answers. In this case, I mean, it was quite easy for me. But from here, you have different options. So for example, you can get a study guide. You can review the quiz, which means simply to do it again, which can be a good option, especially if you start from zero and you struggle a lot. I mean, you can ask for more questions and you can choose the topics. For example, all topics or only the growth areas. The number of questions, I mean, you want a custom number, more or less, and so on, and the level of difficulty, about the same, harder, easier, and so on. If you ask for the study guide, actually you get a simple file, which are notes based on your material, but it's pretty nice because you can actually build on top of this. Let me see. So just a second. As you can see, it takes really just a while. So we have guide d'études, expression française de niveau C1. And then what happens? Here we have this little funny button, which is create. And what do we get? We can get a web page, an infographic, a quiz, flashcards. I mean, I don't know, flashcards again, but whatever. Or an audio overview. Definitely the audio overview is what catches my eye because it's an automatic podcast based on the words you need to learn. And this is pretty nice because usually it's quite well done. I mean, I experienced it already on a Notebook LM and I think the result is not bad at all, honestly. So it's definitely something you want to try. But actually, there is even one more move that I really like asking Gemini, which is to get a little text to translate from Italian, for example, or from English into the language I'm learning. Text that it's not too difficult, so it's 150 words, because this way there is a logic. I mean, it's not just some sentences, random sentences here and there. Of course, I mean, you have to expect some degree of absurdity, so some AI slop or hallucinations, that's absolutely certain. But let's say that in the worst case scenarios, you're just going to laugh a little bit. Usually what I ask is, for example, give me 150 word text about living in Brussels. Let's say C2 level, let's try, that's there. For this about living in Brussels, C2 level, using the expressions included in the flashcards. Again, don't follow the order, and let's see what you get. Of course, it will be quite weird. So as you can see, I made a mistake. Remember to tell him from which language into which language. So for example, here I say, let's edit the prompt because otherwise I don't want to make it too much of a mess. So I say, give me 150 word text in Italian about living in Brussels. I want to translate it into French. Don't give me the translation, don't give me the solution right away. I'll work on one sentence at a time. One sentence at a time. I don't know whether it's correct. I don't know. I mean, whatever. But you get the point. If the prompt works, I'm happy. There it is. Which is funny because, of course, it talks about the EU bubble. So, for example, here I get vivere a Bruxelles. So, to live in Brussels means to accept of being constantly, of being daily won by a mix of charm and surrealism. I don't really know what it means, but whatever. I mean, honestly, this is a text I wouldn't be able to translate right away like that in English because there are a lot of nuances and little expressions and idioms that I really don't know, but I could do it a little bit better in French. For example, in this case, I say then, I click on Ask Gemini, and I say, for example, translate into French. And I say, translate into English as well, into French and English, because this way I will see what the heck is to be won by, I don't know, honestly. I mean, my brain doesn't work today, I don't know why. So living in Brussels means accepting being daily overcome by a mixture of charm and surrealism. Et donc, en français, vivre à Bruxelles signifie accepter d'être quotidiennement gagné par un mélange de charme et de surréalisme. Okay, that's really funny. The basic features, so the flashcards, the quizzes, and the performance feedback are completely free, because this, as you can see, all of this was made on the free version of Gemini. I honestly haven't remarked any striking difference between the free version and the paid version. I guess that probably in the paid version the quality of the text-to-speech is a little bit more natural, but honestly, maybe it's a matter of accuracy of the answers we get, but I really can't tell such a big difference. Probably it's also a matter of tokens, I don't know, honestly. So, which means don't wait for a paid plan to start. Also, someone asked me, why Gemini and not DeepSeek, for example, or ChatGPT? First of all, I've never used DeepSeek, so I have no clue. For ChatGPT, it simply doesn't work. You cannot literally get the same kind of results. Also, for ChatGPT, I don't have a paid plan, so I don't know. Whether other tools do something similar, I mean, just let me know in the comments because I have no clue about it. The one thing Gemini can't give me, and honestly no app ever could, is humanness, of course. So what I really need is someone who actually reads what I write, for example, if I think about journaling. A teacher whose story I find interesting. A friend I genuinely want to talk to. The feeling that my words matter to someone, at least. For example, something very specific about me is that if I do journaling exercise and I share it in an accountability group, I'm motivated, I push myself, but only if the people in that group can actually understand and read what I wrote. Which means that, I don't know, if I do some Chinese journaling in a group where nobody speaks Chinese, I will never feel as motivated. It's really stronger than willpower. I really can't. That's what makes learning feel worth it to me. Not the streak, not the score, but really the human relationship that I build with the person I'm learning with. And this is actually why I'm building the Frequency Circle. So it's a community for people who learn the same way I do. The first thing you do when you join is to post a journal entry, something you've been working on, a phrase that stumped you, a conversation you want to have, literally anything can be. So real material from your real life. Other people read, respond, and suddenly your words are actually going somewhere. But I want to be honest about what I'm building. I mean, the thing is, I don't want it to build a community where you barely hear from me. So I want to post, for example, a little story from my life every week. I want to comment, interact, and respond to what people share, because I want to still build a kind of individual relationship with every single person. Of course, I will try to do it as long as it's feasible, because, I mean, if it becomes too many people, of course, it will be hard, but let's see. I mean, I will do my best. Who knows, maybe you will find other people who share your way of learning. Maybe you will make friends. Maybe your circle grows beyond me entirely. I mean, if it happens, why not? I mean, that would honestly make me very happy. If that sounds like something you want, check out the link in the description, fill out the form, and you will be kept in the loop when it's going to be launched. So now you know that you don't need a paid account to start. So open Gemini, pin a chat, and type the 3 last words you got stuck on today. And if you want to know more about journaling and how to make it effective for language learning, check out this video.